All right, part two. So, like I said, um, I got to the point in prison where I just really was looking for a change. Uh, Things just wasn't going right. So, like I said, Christianity didn't do nothing. Buddhism kind of taught me to search deeper. So it gave me just a little bit of relief, just a little bit, but not enough. I started paying attention more to my surroundings, meaning the people that I was around, that I was surrounded by. And the people that I was surrounded by, believe it or not, it was quite a few Muslims that I was friends with on a prison yard. One Muslim in particular, and he had came there, and he came from the same area as me, the same gang as me, right? Because I had got caught up in the gang lifestyle and everything, and he had this reputation about himself to where he was real known, and being known, I expected certain things of him, but when I met him, he wasn't anything like any of that stuff because he was a Muslim. And we used to always have conversations on the yard, and his conversations used to always be full of so much wisdom and knowledge. But I didn't realize it till later on that everything he was giving me was Islam. He was giving me Islam without giving me Islam, without sounding preachy. That was the thing. So I just remember going to him and a couple of the other brothers and just telling them, like, hey, man, I think I want to go to Juma. And when I told them, they were just like, yeah, you want to go? I'm like, yeah, I want to go. So they like, look, we going to sign you up. I'm like, all right, cool. That's what's up. Sign me up. So they signed me up. They signed me up for Juma. I went in there not knowing what to expect. I went there and Juma hadn't started yet. So what they were doing was they were reading the Qur'an. And when they were reading the Qur'an, I just remember hearing and listening to the words, because one person would read 10 ayats in Arabic and someone else would read the same 10 ayats in English, right? And I just remember like listening to it. And I remember hearing like talking about the hellfire, talking about the companions on the left, companions on the right, and the description of the hellfire and everything. And I'm sitting there listening to the hellfire, right? And the descriptions, and I'm just like, wait a second, hold on. I'm like, yo, is this real? So I went to one of the brothers and I said, hey man, what they talking about in the Quran about the hellfire, is this real? And he was like, yeah, it's real. And I was just like, this is real. I got to get my life together, straight up. So I remember just sitting in there and going through Juma, and then we left. The next one came, I went to it. Next one came, I went to it. The brothers came to me. They said, do you want to learn about the 5 pillars? I said, yeah. The brother in particular who used to be from the same gang as me, he said, I'm going to teach you the 5 pillars. So he started teaching me the 5 pillars. And I remember they giving me a pamphlet teaching me how to do salat. And next thing you know, we went on a lockdown. When we went on the lockdown, I remember my cellie was not a Muslim. So I was going through the pamphlet and I was trying to figure out how exactly do I make salat, right? So I'm going through the pamphlet myself. And as I'm going through it, I'm figuring it out. I'm learning. I'm trying to make salat. I'm trying my best to understand the Arabic and memorize it. And I remember we went on a lockdown for a month and a half. By the time we got off that lockdown, I knew how to make salat. When we went back to Juma, I went in there and I did my 2 rakahs entering the masjid. And the brothers were paying attention to me. And they were like, hey, Ak, you learn how to do your salat? And I said, yeah. And they were like, what? Man, come show us. So I'm like, all right. We went over off to the side and I showed them. And they said, say it out loud. I said it out loud. I just did. I had the Al-Fatiha down and everything. And the brothers were just like, mashallah. Like, you got it. You got it. Who helped you? I'm like, nobody. I just did it on a lockdown by myself. And they was like, wow. And the brother who was teaching me, he had transferred to another prison, so he wasn't even there to know. But the brothers were like, you know what? You got this. And I just felt good. I remember feeling good. And that's when I just told him, I just said, you know what? I want to take my shahadda. And the brothers was like, alhamdulillah. And I took my shahadda. I took my shahadda. La ilaha illallah, Muhammadan Rasulullah. And it was just like, man, once the brother told me, he was just like, listen, just follow after me, say this, ashadu. And I was like, ashadu. And I just went through the whole ashadu la ilaha illallah, ashadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. And I just felt good afterwards. I felt good. And I was just like, wow, like, okay, it's the first step. And I started feeling relief. I really started feeling relief at that moment in time, right? But it was still more growth to happen. And growth doesn't happen overnight. And it took some time. It really did take some time, but I just remember like that was the first step to really, truly, finally being able to change. And the blessings started coming. The blessings finally started coming in. And I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about that in part 3. I'm going to do a part 3 and talk about that. I'm going to talk about my marriage, my divorce. I'm going to talk about me becoming an imam, all of that. Learning how to read Arabic, part 3. So y'all look out. Just hold tight. All right? Bear with me. Have some sabr. Assalamu alaikum.